Shut up and refill more popcorn. Shut up and refill more popcorn.
Wakka Wakka guys, welcome back to another Extra Butter Feed episode. This one is going to be a popcorn and chill, and I'm joined by the host of Comic Chops, Mr. CJ Emanuel, and our special guest, Miss Devon. We just got done doing that episode. We got to know a little bit about Devon and CJ's relationship and how they got into the stand-up game and their critiques on that. So do yourself a solid. Go and check out that podcast when it drops. All the descriptions will have the links and places to go and all that. But we're just gonna get right into it. We're gonna get into the 2014 Sheik documentary, which is based on the Iron Sheik, the wrestler. It's called Sheik, right? It's not. I can't.
It's the Sheik.
The Sheik. See, we shoot from the hip here. Shut up and refill my popcorn. No notes. Bang bang. Cactus Jack style. So go around the table. What was something memorable from this documentary, from this movie documentary, that stuck with you? Ladies first.
Oh my God, what wasn't? Jesus Christ. It was like watching Sam Kinison on all the cocaine for like 2 hours. But mainly, I think a thing that did stick with me is that it doesn't have anything to do with him, but is that Jim Ross is a treasure. Like that man is a national treasure. I've always loved him. I've always thought he was great, and I was just happy to see that as of 10 years ago, he was still alive. Is he still alive?
Yeah.
Ooh, Jim Ross?
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
He's commentating on AEW.
Yeah.
When he gets to it.
He's had some health issues.
Oh wow.
Lately and stuff. He's had a couple of cancer scares. It's like skin.
Well, he had health issues back in the late 90s. Remember when he had Bell's palsy?
Yeah, Bell's palsy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, JR.
Yeah, that was.
He's regarded as probably, if not the greatest play-by-play wrestling commentator, he's on the Mount Rushmore for sure.
Yeah, definitely. He was definitely the athletic commentator more than who was that other guy that I didn't like?
Who? His tag team his partner Jerry the King.
Yeah, that's who it was. Yeah.
Man. Now Jim Ross will tell you that Gordon Soley is the greatest of all time, but a lot of people will. He deserves to be in the discussion as well. But we're talking about Sheik. So Jim Ross has some great stories about Sheik. Conan's got some legendary stories about. Every wrestler's got a Sheiky baby story. One of the ones that Conan likes to tell is the time that Sheik was on I don't know if it was American Airlines, TWA, whatever, and he had this big fat spliff and was smoking it on the plane. This is back when you could smoke cigarettes on the plane. He's smoking his joint, and the stewardess is telling him to put it away. He can't have it, and he's like, "No, no, 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 no! This is the finest Iranian tobacco." And he proceeds to tell her the benefits of this high-grade Iranian tobacco, and smokes the whole blunt, blowing the smoke in her face until he finished.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sheiky baby was a trip, man. He passed away late last year, I believe. So So my memories of Iron Sheik are like when I was a little kid and Hulk Hogan was on top and watching WWF on Saturday after cartoons, and he was like the big bad guy, one of the big bad guys, him and Nikolai Volkov, and he looked the part, especially as a little kid. And I'm young enough to remember the Iran hostage crisis back then.
Yeah.
So he came along as the foreign menace heel at the perfect time in the late 70s into the early 80s and stuff. And he was the key and catalyst to Hulkamania, and well, he played a big part of it and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Over, and he was the perfect choice to also take the title off of Bob Backlund. Now, that was a nice little tidbit in the story that I forgot about, where Bob Backlund didn't want to drop the belt to Hogan directly because he didn't respect him as an athlete, and Iron Sheik, with his credentials as an amateur wrestling Olympic caliber wrestling coach, you know, bodyguard for the Shah's family and shit. He brought some legitimacy to okay, if anybody's gonna beat someone as Bob Backlund, it's got to be someone like the Iron Sheik and stuff. So
that's in his backstory is incredible.
Yeah, it's unfortunate though with the WWF's system back then. It was get a big heel, big monster to face Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan defeats him, and then you never really see him again and stuff. But I would have loved to have seen him get another run. Now, when they didn't really cover it, but remember when Sergeant Slaughter turned heel in the right around Gulf War I. This is probably before your time, so you're probably a little kid and stuff. But he was he helped get Sergeant Slaughter over as a Iraqi sympathizer character to help.
I remember Sergeant Slaughter when he was heel and he was like Iraq, like during I guess the early 90s.
Yeah, the first
first Gulf War.
Yeah. So he was instrumental in getting him over and stuff, and legitimizing Sergeant Slaughter's character. But
he wasn't an agent too, like right around the time The Rock, and because I know
Slaughter was
no the Sheik, like the Sheik was managing the Sultan, right? Rikishi back in the day. Wasn't that The Rock's first WrestleMania opponent?
That I don't remember. That was like right around. That's a good question. I'm not that much of a.
I want to say that the Sheik. So Rikishi had the Sultan gimmick, and
I remember that,
and so I'm gonna say the Sheik was his manager. I want to say it is because the Rock was on Joe Rogan not too long ago, and he was talking about that. And then with his TV show, the Young Rock, I think they told about it. But let me go back and make sure. But yeah, his backstory, you touched on it a little bit with him being Olympic wrestler, wrestling coach, and bodyguard for the Chief,
the Shah. Yeah,
and basically coming over. And where he moved to what? New York at first, right?
Minnesota. That's where he met Vern Gagne, who owned the.
Seems like such an odd choice, Minnesota, like from Iran to Minnesota.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I believe the wrestling camp, the Olympic wrestling camp, I think was based out of Minnesota.
Oh yeah, I know they have some there. Yeah,
that's where brought him there, and then that's where he met Vern Gagne, who at the time when the AWA, just back in the territory days, he ran the American Wrestling Association. That's where Hulk Hogan got his start. He was there first, in the AWA.
Oh yeah.
And there's legend that Vern Gagne offered $150,000 to break Hulk Hogan's leg and take the WWF title back to the AWA. Yeah, but Shiki said he had given Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon. Not his father had already sold the company, so he gave Vince his word that he wasn't going to do anything screwy with him, and he was going to honor him and stuff. But Shiki said but wrestlers, you can't really tell what's real, what's bullshit, even when they're shooting with you. You know what I'm saying? But he corroborates that story and stuff and says that Vern Gagne offered him that. So it's either legend or truth, but either way, like Disco and Conan say, you never let the truth get in the way of a good story anyway. So
good Lord.
Yeah, wrestling world is crazy. And it's it seems like there's parallels in comedy and wrestling and stuff, and as far as working a crowd, getting a crowd to either cheer. Well, in particular with wrestling, whether you cheer or boo, it's the same to them and stuff.
Yeah.
So I guess when you're having an off night and the crowd is fucking with you, that's kind of a way to kind of look at it. Well, at least I'm still getting something from them, and then that's better than silence. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And then we even have heels, in our business where people want to be the bad guy. Now, if they've got good enough writing skills, like a Warren makes you laugh at things that you're not supposed to be laughing at, and it kind of irritates you about him, but at the same time, you have to laugh. Yeah. So, but I think it does. Whoever said that in the dog had a real good point. It takes a special kind of person to be able to be a heel and pull it off where you don't just look like a clown or an asshole.
Yeah. And you got to remember, like back in the day, nobody knew the truth about wrestling. The internet wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
What you see in the news is what and you even heard it in the doc. They took current events and made gimmicks with them because they knew this is gonna piss people off. And that there's stories out there of heels being threatened outside the locker room, and just people throwing batteries and
I feel like that had to have sucked for their kids.
Oh yeah, it did. But,
like especially back when everybody knew it wasn't or didn't know it wasn't. Yeah. Well, it's not. It is real. It's still. I mean, it'll still fuck you up, but
absolutely,
it's choreographed. I guess.
Determined. Yeah. Al Snow says all the time. Al Snow says all the time. The only thing that's fake in wrestling is the outcome. Everything else is real, and he's absolutely right. Those guys put their men and women their bodies on the line, man. So I respect them for that grind, to love something that much, to literally beat yourself up over it. It's kind of like comedy. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like
comedy.
I could never wrestle, especially ladder matches, because I hate heights.
Yeah,
like changing a light bulb is a pain in the ass. Like my parents had this really high ceiling, and so when we would change the light bulbs growing up, we'd have to bit the wrestling ladder and big tall motherfucker and climb up it and I just remember just like hold it. You holding it? Like so you can see where people would go down the the painkiller drug route to try to either get them prepared or get them recovering from a battle or whatever match that they had. I mean, we saw it in we saw the last episode. We talked about The Wrestler. We saw it in that movie.
Yeah. I saw a lot of The Wrestler in watching the documentary and stuff. Even though the Wrestler was largely based on Jake the Snake, but you can easily insert the Iron Sheik. You can easily insert so many other guys who have been through the highs, the lows. He said something to the effect of, I've gone from performing in front of 93,000 to 93. And I can see
that resonated with me. Yeah.
And it's like, talk about, and his catchphrase, as he got older was, make you humble. That'll make you humble,
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. And we talked a little bit about the comedy, how some people kind of go in, not cocky, but they kind of go in. And I was gonna say, like, you have to be humble in a way, don't y'all, to be up on stage and take your whatever outcome comes of it, whether they laugh.
The crowd will humble you. That crowd will bring out the best of you too. When everything's clicking. Resonate with me. And that high right there is very elusive, and it's you get it when you get a taste of it. You want more.
It's kind of like a drug, and you've got to figure. I mean, if they're that into performing and athletics, then it's not just the painkillers or the steroids or whatever. It's also that high they get from being out there, which that's why they do the painkillers and the steroids. It's not, I mean, I'm sure the money has something to do with it, but it's mainly to hear that roar and not be able to see people's faces because the lights are so bright. And it's addictive.
Yeah, you can't see the faces, but you can feel the energy that the crowd is giving you and stuff. And it's like it's like so like, and for us, especially in our stage, we're at most doing 20 minutes. I haven't even done 20 minutes yet. I'm like 10 to up sometimes 15. So just that little small period of time, and then even in that period of time, it's to get that real genuine reaction from the crowd is so small. It's such a small part. And it's like, how do I make more of that for a longer period of time? And that's
how do I duplicate it? Yeah,
that's one of those challenges. It's probably going to be one of those Sisyphus challenges and stuff. You'll never quite get there. You might get close, but then you'll go right back down to not Sisyphus. Who's the guy with the rock with the boulder and the coming back?
Yeah, that's Sisyphus.
It's Sisyphus. Okay.
That rolls the boulder up the hill. Mm-hmm.
So
I failed Greek mythology class. Sorry.
I'm just making shit up as I got mine at Wikipedia, bro. You know what I'm saying?
I said Atlas, but Atlas is the dude holding El Mundo.
That has the world on his shoulders. Yeah.
The little dude on the loteria card. El borracho.
But
El pendejo.
I didn't know about Sheik's daughter being murdered by her boyfriend. That was
that killed me. The fact that he's a girl dad and a girl granddad I'm sorry, was hilarious to me. But then finding out his daughter was murdered, that had to have wrecked him.
Oh yeah, I think she passed away. It was 03. Because they kind of show footage of it, and I don't know if this is in the other documentary that I saw on Tubi, but in 2006, he was going down the darkest he's ever been because he couldn't deal with that loss. Like father, like of a girl, like it would crush you. A friend of mine had a daughter pass away, from an accident in 2012, and he deals with it, his own way. But and we don't talk about it much, but I'm sure like it's. I mean,
one of my family members lost her daughter, and that was over a year ago, and she's still trying to pick up the pieces, man. She's and you can and that didn't.
It just sucks more that it's a child. Well, I mean, sorry, but like I know she wasn't an adult, but still, it's your baby. That's your child.
It's still your child. Yeah, it doesn't matter how old they are. Yeah, my kids are around the age that she was, and if anything happened to either of them, it doesn't matter because you always see them as that little. Baby. It never goes away. Yeah.
My niece, she's in college now, and my nephew's he's going to graduate high school, and I still see him. Those little kids I would take to McDonald's, and I'd come home, and they'd be at my parents' house, and they'd see me come through the door, and just big old hugs, and just they may not be my kids, but they're still my kids. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah.
And I'm always gonna have that love for them and cherishing, but just watching them grow up, and it's just like, no, you want them to be little. And even now with my own daughter, it's that parents' love, and so him going through that, him being a man, and usually men tend to not show a lot of emotion, especially something that, so like, people tend to drink more and get into harder drugs than weed or whatever, and harder stuff, like, and to mask it or to help ease it, but it all comes out in the end. You know what I mean? Like you lashing out to your friends, your family. We saw it in that doc. He was arguing with a guy who was basically like a nephew to him, like those two guys.
Oh, and his
would say-
wife. He went in on his wife a few times.
Yeah,
It couldn't have helped
and
with
that's
the
his
toll.
only wife. That's
Yeah, that
another
couldn't-
thing for a wrestler.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that couldn't have helped with the toll that it was taking on their relationship as it is. Just the being away and all those years and all that stuff, just being a wrestler wife, and then the turning to the drugs and all. You can see her. Fuck it, I've had enough. Face,
Yeah,
during some points of that movie. And I think they ultimately did divorce, if not split. I think they did divorce ultimately.
Oh, did they? Oh,
yeah,
Because I think on some
yeah.
Howard
Because he
Stern
was
appearances, he had talked about her like as ex-wife, I think, or
okay.
they're at least separated. If at the very most,
Yeah, but
they weren't together.
but it wasn't the wrestling lifestyle that did it. That was the surprising part. It was like you hear stories of, like Jake the Snake or even Steve Austin, like, oh yeah, they couldn't handle me being on the road or whatever and whatnot. But each case is different,
Yeah.
And
I don't think it helped. I don't think it helped. And the women and the drugs and that inevitably come with it. I don't. And then when he got arrested with the and they weren't even supposed to be together, but him getting arrested and it's splashed across the news and stuff. I don't think she
was
probably really was happy about that either. So
yeah.
Yeah, that killed his run in the WWF too, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan, because at that time it was still you don't break kayfabe at all. So that was like a mortal sin, back then.
I don't remember. Did he show up on WCW or did he go straight into Indies?
He was in.
That was my question.
This was the.
I think we talked about it, didn't we? A little bit.
They didn't cover this in the documentary, but I've heard Eric Bischoff talk about it, and I've heard Jim Ross talk about it, where Sheik did go to WCW, but he was in such shitty shape that they just never used him. But those contracts are guaranteed at the time, and when his contract was due to expire, they were supposed to end the contract, and if they did not end the contract, it would roll over. So that's what he ended up getting another I think it was either $150,000-$250,000 payday for another 2-3 years or whatever. But other than that, then after that it was the Indies and facing Mr. Maccabee and stuff, which is a tremendous gimmick. I thought the Jewish dude with the Star David mask, that dude was I want to look up Mr. Maccabee. I didn't have time, but that was a tremendous looking gimmick right there.
Yeah.
But and then that, and ultimately, like I said, he get those guys come into his life and kind of
going on Twitter and you talk about with him.
His Twitter and basically, I just remember because I would go through a Howard Stern videos on YouTube and just did the interview with him and Artie Lang basically pretending to be him, and they were back and forth. So,
oh my God.
But that put a resurgence.
I will make you humble.
I will fuck you in the ass and make
I will fuck your ass. Yeah. What in the hell? Yeah.
But you put him in the camera clutch. You never know. He might have slipped it in. You don't know.
Yeah.
But that resurgence really. I'm sure appearances and even those the cons. And we saw a little bit there where he was beating a bunch of other wrestlers. I would say WrestleCon.
Yeah.
You even got Sunny in there.
Yeah.
She was a fan of his. And just all the guys. Bret the Hitman Hart was there, and so that resurgence. And you got all the people that were growing up during the Hogan years, and they know who Sheik was before the whole Twitter and stuff. So they were fans, and so
the cartoon,
seeing that love,
Hogan rock wrestling back in the day,
the cartoon and everything, and then
in the Hart family, the other one like the Von Erichs that has some horrible wasn't it a Hart that fell out of the scaffolding?
Yeah, Owen Hart.
Yeah.
Owen Hart. Oh, yeah, that's right. I was actually watching that WrestleMania. and they started it. We'd gotten it on pay-per-view. My son's dad was a big wrestling fan. We'd gotten it on pay-per-view, and it started, and I thought I saw him go to dive, and then it just went black.
Yeah,
the screen went black because of the 6-second delay.
Yeah.
And we did. Oh, and that was back before the internet was, real big. That was late 90s.
99.
And we had the internet, but it was a couple of hours before we found out what happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, I saw Bret Hart, and I was like, wait, that's that other fucked up family.
Yeah. There's a lot of legendary wrestling. Yeah, they're from the Hart family. Where all his brothers were all wrestlers, and
that's right.
Trained,
British Bulldog, Anvil, Neidhart, all those guys, and Stu Hart.
I wouldn't say they're a fucked up family, but there has been some fucked up things. Teddy Hart.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it's the same with the Kennedys. Like there's a curse that people are like, there's no curse. There's a curse. They've got the ojo on them. Yeah.
They got the bad, the ojo, the bad juju.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they do.
Oh man. So yeah, I mean, what else is there to touch on that we had?
Let me see. Let me check my notes and see what
I kind of want to see the other documentary I saw on Tubi. I think it said 2012. No, it was early 2000s, mid 2000s.
If you find it, can you put it in your show description? I want to see that one.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Did you notice that when he was talking about his daughter first being born, and he tried to return her?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's that Middle Eastern male chauvinist.
Yeah.
Plus the 70s.
That was crazy. That and then they showed a clip of him wrestling, and it was early 80s, and I didn't watch wrestling in the 80s. I can remember it being on at my friends' houses, but I didn't watch it. But I swear to God, the Where's the Beef lady was like screaming at Sheik at one point, and then they pan back, and there is a whole row of church ladies.
Oh yeah, that was
in their church clothes, and bring back that time.
Yeah, especially
like where there's church ladies at wrestling. That's fantastic.
Some old lady giving shit to one of the wrestlers for beating up the local baby face and all that. Yeah.
That was crazy.
That was one thing I always wanted to do when I was a kid, is go to a wrestling show, especially either at Joe and Harry Freeman Coliseum. But my parents would never, ever, ever take me. But I always wanted to be in that atmosphere and see it and stuff. So I missed out on that.
Yeah, like it I wouldn't say wrestling was like at the same level as it is now, where like guys and girls or wrestlers are getting paid like uber bucks. Like indie wrestling is probably as close as you'll get to where it was back in the day. Like I know RCW there in San Antonio. I didn't go to a show, but I went to the Billy Madison's anniversary show in 2019, and they had some wrestlers there. And and I've seen clips of indie shows and stuff, and you kind of get the same sense, everyday people just there enjoying wrestling, but they're not getting uber paydays. They're probably getting based on ticket sales and stuff like that. That's why you'd see people making merch and selling merch after the shows and stuff, trying to get more money and stuff.
That's another thing Michelle is great at. From the beginning, she was selling merch and had her shit, organized and stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah, very much so.
How to get over, and she knows how to make money off of it, and that's what wrestlers do. That's what wrestlers do. They got their merch.
Well, she's a great networker too, so she's got a good team of people that she's called.
Yeah.
That have the awesome big chocha design, the taco and everything. So yeah, but I saw what you were talking about, where these guys had like home press, like iron on decal shirts that they were selling, and yeah, I'm sure it's hard to get by on whatever it is that they're paying them.
I am absolutely terrible at that. I don't do that at all. You know, selling merch and having some comics. Some of the comics I know in our area, in our little crew, they have a gimmick. You know, Drew Blues has a gimmick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
D. Wayne has a gimmick. The Loud Pack, they have, you know, I'm not saying that in a derogatory term, but it's a persona that an audience can recognize. Oh, you're that guy who does this. You're the dude with the harmonica, you know.
Right.
So the best ones, the best comics can take a page from how wrestlers get themselves over and develop a brand of themselves, because we're our own individual brands and enterprises and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Best of
us, absolutely.
The best of us that make the most aren't necessarily the best comics per se all the time either, but that's very important. But how do you market yourself and how do you get yourself over are also
right. Marketing and networking are huge. Yeah. And I'm sure it's the same way in the wrestling world. I mean, you've got to, as much as athleticism plays a part, it's just like in comedy. It's as much as being funny plays a part in it. Business has to get done, and that's I always say everything is sales. And if you think it's not, you're full of shit or you're stupid, because everything is sales.
It's the same thing in the podcast game. You know, you got podcasters out there that sell merch, myself included. Hit that QR code and look for the Teespring shop. Get yourself a shirt. I don't know what any promo codes are out there because they're probably expired. But, you know, I did all those designs myself. I think they're funny.
Awesome.
But what's some closing, as we're getting ready to wind down and everything, what's some closing thoughts and reactions to this documentary?
I thought it was interesting that he was the first one that used jabroni. And as soon as he said it, I immediately thought of Rock, and then I immediately thought of his dad. And I was like, oh, well, he grew up around wrestling. I bet it is. And then so at the end, when he tells that story, I was like, oh, I knew it. Like, so, because as soon as he said it the first time, I was like, well, he's older than Rock. So,
how many?
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Did the Rock cut? How many jabroni checks did Rock send Sheik's way? You know what I'm saying?
All right. He got a trademark it, Sheiky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and that he did porn cameos. I thought that was really weird.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, they did.
When they had that Ron Jeremy presenting the award or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she did cameos in porns. They talked about like his movie career, and they showed him in a couple of things, but then they showed the trailer for one of them, and it was something awful like Zero Dark Squirty I was like, porn? Like,
that's right.
Ron Jeremy could play him in a movie though.
Yeah, well, he's locked up, so yeah. Did Ron Jeremy die too, or no? He's alive.
No, he's still alive, I think.
I know he's been locked up, but
I didn't know that.
But yeah, I thought the porn cameos and the jabroni thing was weird.
Yeah, that was that Iron Sheik was just one of those characters I just remember from early on as a child, and then to see him become a pop culture kind of caricature stuff like that. He kind of got that resurgence through social media, and then his Howard. I think he was on Howard Stern like 8 times, or whatever, and
yeah, he was almost like a regular.
Like that. Yeah, so he was able to kind of all of us old school Mark fans that remember him as this horrible, terrible menace or whatever, turned out to be a funny motherfucker, little twisted in the head and stuff, but it seems like he's one of those guys where usually the legend and the myth is bigger than the man, but it's like the legend and the myth are almost equal with him,
Yeah.
But he was definitely one of those crucial figures in wrestling history, particularly WWF wrestling history. So he definitely should get his due. He was definitely a flawed individual for sure, as we all are, and had his demons, and some of them got the best of him. But he had a good run. He was 80 something years old. He had a decent run.
He was close to 80. I think my dad is 70. He'll be 78. No, 79.
No,
So
he was born in 40.
He's older than my dad. He's
Two.
42. Yeah.
My mom was born in 43, and he was like 78, I think.
Yeah, because
no, 79 almost.
Because he died last year, right?
Yeah, he died June. Yeah, last June.
So he'd have been like 80, 81.
Yeah, so he had a good run. I mean, he had a long run. I don't know how much of that. He had a long run, and he had his apexes. He had some valleys, but he had some apexes. So yeah, rest in peace to the Iron Sheik. And I wonder what do you want to do next, man? So we did a comedy, we did a serious movie, we did a documentary and stuff. So I was thinking like maybe we should do something maybe it has a wrestler, but it's not a wrestling movie. Like maybe They Live or something like
Suburban
that.
Commando or something. It's where an actor, whereas a wrestler's acting.
Yeah, he's not a wrestler,
but as a wrestler, yeah. They Live is one of my favorites.
Yeah. So maybe if anybody's listening in the comments, anybody want us to review a movie that comes to mind, put something in the comments and give us some ideas.
Yeah,
It's interactive.
Leave a comment this will be on YouTube and Spotify, but hit me up on the Twitter. Yeah, I'm gonna call it Twitter. Fuck X. It's Twitter. I'm gonna say the same fucking thing, but hit me up there and say whatever movie you can come to think of that's wrestling adjacent. With like we said, acting in it, or it's a documentary on them, or it's a movie about wrestling and all that. The
Longest Yard remake, that's another one we can consider because it's got Steve Austin, Kevin Nash.
Yeah, it's got all Nash and Goldberg and Khali.
Anything wrestling comedy adjacent, yeah. I'm with it.
Well, that's gonna be it, guys, for this episode of Popcorn and Chill, only here on the Extra Butter Feed. We're gonna take a quick break, and if you want to hear us talk a little bit more about movies, hit up the main podcast. That's Shut Up and Refill My Popcorn. We're gonna get into Ernest Goes to School. So when you're done here, go over there, download it, listen to it all the way from beginning to end, and leave a 5-star review. I guess wherever you can leave 5-star reviews. I don't know. Can you do that on Spotify and all that? Who knows? I don't. But I want to thank you guys for joining me. I want to push your episode of Comic Chops.
It'll be out there someday. It'll be out there.
It'll be out. All right. So when the episode drops, I'll update the description and put it down there so it won't be hard to find you guys. And remember, if you ain't laughing, you ain't living. Take care of yourself for the people you love. And Peace.
Peace.